Okay, now that you have gotten the basic navigation tools of zoom, pan, and orbit down, we're going to talk about the other most important and basic tool in SketchUp, which is the select tool, which is this little guy right here. So we're using the select tool in this quick video, and I'm going to talk about and explain the 6 different ways you can use this tool to select something. So you will notice that in our model for navigation file, we've got several 2D objects and 2 3D objects. Some of these are grouped, some of these are ungrouped. We will get into grouping in depth in a video or 2 from now, but for now I just want to use this model to explain the different ways you can select something and give you an opportunity to practice with that as well. So with my select tool selected, I can first and foremost simply click on something with my left click of my mouse. You'll see that when I've clicked on this shape here, I get a blue highlighted box around it, or in this case it's just a square because it's only 2 dimensions. So I can just one by one, clicking using my left click things to select them. This is as basic as it gets. This is pretty much how you do things in any program. You'll notice over here, if I click on this one, and I'm going to zoom in on this guy a little bit more, so let me use my zoom window so that he's a little bit more up close and personal, and then I'm just going to use my orbit tool to get a little bit of a view so I can look straight down on it. You'll notice with this one, if I go back to my select tool, that if I select the face of this, I get a field of tiny blue dots, or if I select just the edges, I'm only selecting the edges one by one. Let's go ahead and pan to this one up above here. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. I'm going to click on the face, but this time you'll see that I get a blue box that surrounds the whole thing, or the whole thing gets highlighted with a blue outline. The difference between these two things is that this square is made and it's not grouped. This one is grouped, and again, we're going to get into that in a second, but it is important that you already start being familiar with the difference between something that's grouped and not grouped. So we've covered basic selection tool number 1, which is just using the select tool, simply clicking on one item at a time, and you are highlighting each individual item as you go. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The next possible way to select something is to double click on it. So if I double click on this, so if I click once, all right, I've selected my face. If I double click on it, it's going to grab everything that's attached to it. So because it's ungrouped, and this is basically a raw shape, I double click on the face and it's going to select the entire thing. Let's go ahead and look at one of the 3D boxes over here. So I'm going to pan over to that guy. I've got 2 different boxes here. Go back to my select tool. If I select this one, you notice that when I select it, the entire thing gets highlighted in blue. If I select this one, I'm selecting by face or by line only. So if I double click on a face, clicking twice with my left button of my mouse, that's going to select the entire face and all of the adjacent lines that are surrounding it. Okay? So that's my double click. The reason I wanted to introduce double click is because it leads to triple click, which works when you've got 3D objects. So if I go back to my 2D square here, and I click on my select tool with my left click, and then 1, 2, 3, click on it 3 times, not a huge difference because there's only two dimensions to this shape. So go ahead and pan back over to this guy here, which is my 3D object that is ungrouped, and I go to my select tool and I'm gonna click on it 1, 2, 3, and you'll notice that if I've clicked on it 3 times, that's basically accounting for all 3 dimensions of this shape. So that's how you click on and select the entirety of a 3D shape if it's not grouped. Okay, so we've covered simple click, just clicking once, double click, which is clicking twice, and triple click, which is clicking 3 times on something if it's 3D and if it's not grouped. Again, don't worry about understanding what group means yet. We'll get into that in about probably the next 2 videos. Okay, so let me go ahead and do a zoom extends now, and let's get the whole view of everything that we've got. We've got some other options here, which are clicking and dragging to select things. You're going to use this all the time. So again, we're always going to be using the select tool to select something. So if I click and hold down with my left button of my mouse from the right side of my screen, either up or down, it doesn't make a difference whether I'm going up or down with this, as long as I'm starting from the right side and moving to my left side, you'll see that I've got this dotted line box as I start to drag across. And what that does is that selects anything that's even within the box at all. So if you notice that I've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes that I'm covering here. My top corner is just catching the little bottom corner of that box. But when I let go, it's going to select that. So I'm going to select anything within the realm of that box as long as it's touching it. So that's the way I can select things from right to left. The other way to do it is to go from left to right. And you'll notice that this time the box is solid, or the selection square. So when I let go, I'm only going to capture these 6 boxes, because those 6 boxes were the only boxes or the only shapes that were completely captured by my selection. This shape here, this shape, and these shapes here are not within that boundary completely. They're touching, but they're not all the way selected. So when I let go, it's not going to select them. So this will only select something that I've completely captured. So you notice I can do that with this shape here. I can do that. There's any number of ways you can do this, but the basic idea is that you are capturing something that's fully captured within the box. So this gives you a more kind of refined way of selecting things. The final way to select multiple objects is to go back to our very basic simple click method, where we click once on something that we want to select, and then I hold down the Shift key, and notice that I've got this plus or minus that appears next to my cursor now. Now I can start to click once and add or subtract items based on what it is that I want to select. So I actually can go through and manually choose just these items, and these are the only ones that will be selected now. So go ahead and practice. Just get a good feel for how it is you can start to select things, because we're going to be using the selection tool quite a bit as we move forward, and we'll obviously be using it for homework 1. But just go ahead and take the same model, use your navigation tools as you do this, and start to just get comfortable with selecting things and deselecting things. When I want to go ahead and unselect anything, I can just click out in space, and that'll take away the whole selection. So get comfortable with that, and we'll move on when you're ready.